as I introduce our speaker for tonight. Before I introduce our speaker, let me just take you through the order of the program tonight. So just after me will be our speaker, who will speak for about 40 to 45 minutes. After that, can I ask that you mute your microphones so that we can have a clear delivery from our speaker? As I said, after me will be our speaker, who will speak for about 40 to 45 minutes. After that, we will be able to go through the chat button to be able to pick all your questions. I will ask that if you have any questions whilst the speaker is speaking, just pop it in the chat box and we'll be able to pick it up and read it out to the speaker. So after the 40 minutes of delivery from the speaker, we will then pick up all your questions and spend about 20 to 30 minutes for the speaker to deal with your questions. After that, we will then have about 20 extra minutes where you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask questions directly to our speaker. We will hope to wrap up around 5 minutes to 9. So at this juncture, can I introduce our speaker? And I'm delighted that it is one of our own, Mr. Richard Ofori-Yentumi, who will be delivering the webinar tonight. Richard is a highly motivated investment and business development consultant with unique experience and sustained record of success across business startups and the financial sector. He has extensive background in managing and analyzing complex strategic research projects to achieve challenging objectives and to meet critical deadlines. As I mentioned, we are delighted that Richard completed Koforidua Sectech in 1996 and went on to pursue a high national diploma in mechanical engineering in Kumasi Poly, and he also holds a Bachelor of Science in Aeronautics Engineering from Aachen University in Germany. Richard also holds an MBA in Banking and Finance from University of Birmingham. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see that he comes to this webinar with a wealth of experience and knowledge, and we are delighted to have him speak to us. Richard has also worked as a project manager with the specialist team of Royal Engineers, enabling operational effectiveness of the British Army globally with his technical expertise from 2005 to 2012. Subsequently, he worked with Bank of America Merrill Lynch as a leading global investment bank in London, starting as a project manager and then working his way all the way to being an investment consultant. And since 2015, Richard has been a visiting lecturer in the field of business, finance, and investment in Coventry University here in the UK. In 2011, Richard founded the Medway Investment International, which invests and operates in businesses both in UK and in Ghana. He manages the strategy, development, and direction of these businesses from startups all the way to market by encouraging and accelerating ideas into a viable business venture. Medway portfolio includes 3P Energy, IC Cup, Pinkberry, Food Express, Medway Farms and Medway Homes, all in Ghana, as well as the crowd-based and real homes in UK. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to have Richard be our speaker tonight. And we look forward to learning from you, Richard. You can unmute yourself now and take us through your content. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Douglas, and thank everybody for joining this webinar. And I hope that you all could see my screen at this moment in time. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for attending this meeting, and thanks to all of you for your time that you've devoted to be here. And I hope that by the end of this meeting, we'll all be able to have a very fruitful discussion throughout this period. This event is being hosted by Mmarima Mma UK, and the topic for our discussion today is personal finance and investment. My name is Richard Ofori-Yentumi, and I will be leading this discussion. And on this discussion, we will be able to have a good understanding on what we might be working on. I will be supported by two different speakers. One of them is Daniela Bedu, who is also a financial educator and consultant with Genestar, and also a lecturer and lead educator at the University of Warwick. After that, I will also be having Patrick Tutu, who also is a tax consultant and managing partner with Comevo and Jasper Associates. So these two guys will be helping me in today's presentation at this time. The outline for our program today is in this order. Financial independence. We're going to look at what we mean by financial independence and how best that we could achieve that. Then next, from there, we're going to look at planning towards retirement. The fact is that it is one of the only constant things that will happen in our life at some point in time, if we get there, if life is so favorable to us to get to that age. Then after that, we'll be looking at how to live a debt-free lifestyle and being smart with investment. How do we become very smart in our level of investment, and where do we put our money as well? Follow from there, we're going to be looking at developing business in Ghana and how we could achieve that in the great manner as it is. At the end of this discussion, we should all be able to understand our financial position and how to improve upon it. So that is the basic aim for our discussion today. And for us to move on, at this moment in time, I would like us to understand some keywords that will be very much important and will resolute throughout this discussion. If you got a pen and a paper, I'll be very glad if you write these keywords down and what it actually means in relation to this discussion. Some of these keywords are words that we may have come across severally before, but however, for the purpose of this discussion, this is how we would define these words in this work or investment capital that they may have invested as well. So any money that comes into your pocket will be referred to as income. Moving on from there, we talk about passive income, and we say that these are money earned without having to work for that money in this case. Then we may look at passive income, income received from doing a job or services such as salaries and commissions as well. Okay, so these are the income that you will be receiving whilst you are actively involved in the work. Then we will be looking at expenses. Expenses is the outflow of money from our pocket to others to pay for goods or services that they have rendered to us. Then the next keyword that we're going to look at is asset. Asset in relation to this presentation will be referred to any resources with economic value expected to provide future benefits. And for those of us who just want to keep it short, its asset is money that comes into your pocket. Okay, anything that generates money into your pocket will be referred to as asset. And the next one from there is liability. Liability is an obligation to pay our bills or debt, or anything that will actually take money from us. So anything that we possess that takes money from us in this context is going to be referred to as a liability for us. And the last one that we're going to have a look at is cash flow. And cash flow will be referred to as a real or virtual movement of money. So how money comes into our pocket and how it leaves our pocket. So the way that the money flows within our hands will be referred to as cash flow for the purposes of this presentation. And I hope that we've been able to jot down this information. And as you have your pen and paper, whilst we go through this presentation, I do understand that there will be questions that will be generated, okay, either as a result of doubt or in order to get in-depth clarification to whatever has been said. So please take note of that. And whenever you have your question, feel free to ask at that particular moment. Moving on from there, the first thing is financial independency. What do we mean by financial independency? Financial independency for us is the status of having enough money to pay for your reasonable living expenses for the rest of your life without having to rely on formal employment. And this is very important, having reasonable living, having money that is reasonable enough to pay for your living expenses. And this becomes quite relative in that aspect. And the reason why financial independence is quite tied to retirement most of the time is the fact that when we are active, we will be able to manage to get ourselves to pay our expenses and to pay our bills. But however, what happened when we are not in active work? And that is why at the end of the definition, it says that without having to rely on formal employment. So how will we be able to achieve that? For us to be able to achieve that, there are two major approaches that we need to have. The first one is to be able to reduce our expenses. And for us to reduce our expenses, we need to actually reduce our living by living a simple life, or reducing our expenditure, which sounds quite simple, but not really simple as sometimes it might be in this case. And the next aspect is that we now need to increase our assets or create what we call asset accumulations. At this stage of increasing our assets, we need to have revenue assets, assets that create passive income for us. And also we should be able to have enough liquid assets. Enough liquid assets could come in the form of being lucky enough to inherit an asset from somebody, or to inherit an asset from somebody, which will be able to turn into cash when there is a need, or having any kind of property that you will be able to actually use or sell to generate more cash in order to increase your revenue in this case. If you are able to balance this equation well, then you will be able to save more towards that financial independency as well. As we could see here, there are few more source of finance that we could come our way. The first one is bank fixed deposit, okay, which most of us may be acquainted with, whereby you put your money in the bank, at the end of the period of time, they give you an interest, okay. The other one from there is stocks, bond, and income trust. So those of people who may be interested in buying stock on the stock market or bond market, is another way that could continuously create a passive income for us. And from our definition of passive income, we now do understand the fact that these are income that we don't need to work with. So this is whereby our money is working for us whilst we are sleeping, okay? Then the other aspect is those who are very crafty and very creative with whatever they do, they could be getting royalties from creative work. Patent licensing, if you are able to write a book or you've got a product that you've already patented, then you should be able to get that. if you work and your work has been tied into any kind of pension scheme or a government pension scheme, you will be guaranteed a certain amount of money that you will be receiving, when you go on retirement as well. Following on from there, there are three major aspects that I would like to dwell much more upon, which is real estate, okay, and ownership of business or business ownership. And the list of not on the list, and as I could say as well, this is not the exhausted list. There could be other informations or other source of passive income that could be added to this list, but these are the key ones that I've chosen to pretty much look into. The last one is the trust deed. Trust deed in natural sense used to be the situation whereby somebody passed, and because you were part of the trust of that person, you actually may receive a substantive amount of money, coming into your account quite regularly. Okay, so gone are those days when our granddad used to own cocoa farms, and when they pass away, we still benefit from the cocoa product, that the income that is always generated year on year on. But are we still having such kind of passive income? No, because the fact is that our grandparents are maybe not having a cocoa farm anymore. They are not having the good stock into their cupboards and all those kind of things anymore. So we are not able to actually benefit from those kind of things. But are there other means for us to benefit through trust deeds? Yes, there are other strategies that modern world have introduced for us to benefit, in the sense of what? Insurance, which we will be going much more into that one later as well. Following on from there, how do we achieve, financial independence? First, we need to have a plan. Okay, we need to set a goal that will help us to be able to achieve financial independence. And whilst we set these goals, we need to have a very good advisor that will be able to advise us how we could be able to achieve these financially independent goals as well. And another major thing that we've already touched base on that we need to be doing is to cut costs. As we cut costs, it will increase our excess income that we could be able to save or invest in other ventures as well. We should be able to earn more money, because the more money that we are able to earn, the more that we could be able to save or invest in other ventures as well. Then the last on the list is we need to choose wise investment strategies. Not every investment strategy will fit well with everybody, but we need to be able to have a clear way of choosing a very wise investment strategy in this case. And once we do that, what we understand is that a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. However, a plan backed with actions makes your dream come true. We all wake up with dreams. We all wake up with realization. We hear people, talking about setting your goals, doing your dreams, doing this and all those kind of things. But when we don't back that plans with action, our dreams will not be able to be fulfilled in that order. And also, what we should understand is that knowledge, and when I mention this word knowledge, it becomes very creative to me. Because when I was a kid, we used to say that knowledge is power, whereby a cousin of mine, which I think she's online, I will not embarrass her, used to say that kokomlimle is power. You understand? But however, knowledge is the acquiring of facts. Understanding, it is the interpretation of that fact. But the wisdom is the application of that fact. As it was said by Edwin Lewis. Cool. This is very important that we know. When we know it, that is one stage of everything. Understanding and knowing it is different from actually implementing it. And I will apply this in the sense that when you want to lose weight and you want to do fitness and all those kind of things, and you sit behind the telly and watch people and watch fitness programs, and whilst you are stuffing yourself with the cake and the pies and everything else, okay, you are not actually going to gain your weight loss that you want to gain in this case. So applying the knowledge that we get, and we normally get that kind of situation that I know it, yeah, I've heard it before and those kind of things, and I've got my plans. What have you set yourself to achieve within the next 1 year? What have you set yourself to achieve in the next 2 years? And are you following your dreams? You know, for you to follow your dreams, you need to put it into actions. There are few strategies, you know, that we could actually employ. One of them, or the three that I'm going to look at, you know, and we're going to look at here is mortgage payment acceleration strategies. Okay. With this kind of strategy, I'll leave it for my co-speaker, Daniela, to speak about it. And the second one is real estate and owning of business. Okay. Then the third one is insurance policy. I will touch slightly more on the real estate and owning of business. The fact is that if you own a business and you're able to manage the business to set it up to a real process-driven business, you will be able to always generate a passive income from it. And in that order, you'll be able to actually know how best that works well for you in the near future to gain financial independence. Okay, real estate. And when I talk about real estate, we're talking much more here about the rental real estate. You know, it's rented, it's there, and you are receiving your monthly income. And the fact is that even when you are asleep, you know, that monthly income will keep coming for you. And the key thing is that one major aspect is that when we are building our retirement home, are we building the flourish and the luxury kind of home that we want to be sleeping in and paying bills that we cannot afford at that stage? Or we want to be actually building our retirement home that will generate income for us? And a good example that I would like to use in this real estate kind of passive income generation is footballers. You know, most of us who used to watch football in the early 2000, mid 2000, okay, there was a footballer called Rockefeller. He used to play for Liverpool, and all the Liverpoolians here, congratulations to you guys. He used to play for Liverpool, and this guy, when he started his career, whilst his colleagues were buying flourishing and luxurious cars at the end of every month and changing their cars into the Ferrari, the Aston Martin, and all those kind of things, Rockefeller said that, you know what, I'm going to create a city in Liverpool. And at the moment that we speak, he owns hundreds and hundreds of homes within Liverpool. He was copied by Michael Owen as well. And at this moment in time, these guys have flourished much deeper when it comes to that aspect of business. And they have retired. However, they are receiving great amounts of money from the estate that they own, you know, compared to some of their colleagues who need to struggle to be pundits to actually survive in life. You know, they are not able to, some are not even able to pay for their lavish homes that they bought when they were footballers, and have to now pretty much sell it on, or pretty much forgo some of these flourished life that they may be living. Okay, so at this stage, I will invite Daniela to speak much more on the mortgage payment acceleration program and also the insurance in its own sense.
Okay, thank you, Richard, and good evening to all the listeners. As Richard has already said, to become financially independent, we don't only have to look at areas where we can maximize income or have multiple streams of income, but we also have to consider areas where we can mitigate cost. And we can mitigate costs through mortgage payments. That's if you have a mortgage. Now, there are multiple strategies that we can use to pay our mortgages quicker and save thousands of pounds in interest. Because how the mortgage works is that interest is charged on a daily basis. So, for example, if you have a mortgage balance of £1,000, interest will be charged on the balance on a daily basis. So one way to help us mitigate cost is to sort of like make additional payments if you can. Okay, so for example, if your balance is £1,000 and you're able to make £100 payment to bring the balance down to 900, interest will be charged on the 900. Now, if you don't have additional money to pay into, there's another strategy that you can use, which is the fortnightly payment strategy. So that basically means if you were making a mortgage monthly payment of £200, all you have to do is split that £200 into two. So you've got £100, you can make a payment in the middle of the month, okay? You can pay £100 in the middle of the month, and then another £100 towards the end of the month. Just by doing that, you're able to reduce the interest that you pay, because as I said, interest is charged on a daily basis. So if you're paying £100 on the 14th, the bank may take £50 of it as their interest, and then the balance will go down to 950, and interest will be charged on the 950. But if you don't do that and you leave it till the end of the month, interest will be charged from day 1 to day 28 on the £1,000. Now, by doing that, we worked with a client who had a balance of £157,000 on their mortgage. But by deploying these strategies, this client was able to pay off their mortgage quicker. So their term was originally 25 years to pay it off, but it took 20 years to pay it off. And then also they were able to save over £50,000 just on interest, okay? Now, moving on to insurance, whilst we are taking steps to become financially independent, we also want to think about risk management strategies, okay? We want to take steps to help mitigate risks. We want to make sure that we have a level of protection so that, God forbid, if something happens, we can protect all that we have worked hard for. Now, the value of insurance is, I'll just give another example. For instance, if I had a television and I had insurance on that television, if something happened or if the television was damaged, I could take it back to the company and get a brand new one and enjoy the services that I had already been enjoying. And that's what insurance does for us. In our journey to become financially independent, God forbid, if the unexpected happens, then we can make a claim, which basically means that we'll have access to money that can help us do the things that we would have done if everything was okay. And how much does insurance cost? I mean, you're looking at something like £10 or £15 a month, depending on the policy that you get on. And you could get £20,000 to £30,000, as I said, depending on the policy, when something goes wrong. And there are various types of policies, but because of time, I think I'll just stop here and I'll let Richard carry on, and we'll talk about that during the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela. And as quickly as Daniela has put it, the insurance policy, has been one of the greatest way that we should, assess in relation to our wealth generation. Wealth generation to the next generation is one of the key aspects in finance of financial independency that we need to look at when we are retiring. Because when you're going to your retirement, we are mostly Ghanaians on this page now, and we are born into the culture about the fact that, when I pass, somebody's going to take care of my mess. The more that we are taking care of other people's mess, the more that we're going to reduce our financial independency. And the key thing is that why not make good use of that? And that is another topic that we could have on its own, how to actually make good use of financial policies, insurance policies, in order to betterment your revenue, in this case, or the revenue of your next generation. And we shouldn't forget about the fact that a legacy, okay, or a legend is somebody who leaves a legacy for his next generation. Okay, moving on from there, we're going to look at what we may expect is, where is our money going? Where is your money going? So at the end of the month, when you receive that paycheck, when you receive the money that comes into you, where is it going? People with quite much not high level of financial independency, of less financial independency, their money will normally come into their pocket and go out as expense. So that is expense with either electricity bill, light bill, payment of school fees, and all those kind of things will go out of your pocket, okay? However, what we say is that when it happens, these are people with less financial independency, okay? If it happened that way, you're not having much money left. So your dependency of income is solely based on that employment or paycheck that you are receiving. However, if you are able to receive money and save some in order for you to buy an asset, then you will be able to have a multiple stream of income coming in. Then the next level is that such people, which is the middle class, will normally have an income and they will actually buy a liability. A liability such as what? Buying a second car for the home or buying a house, which is very much good, big. However, buying a mortgage is not wrong, but if the mortgage is not within the range of your monthly rent, then there is a deficit in that point. And whenever there is a deficit, you buy that mortgage, and what happens is that you are obliged to pay for that mortgage, and it comes out as an expense from you. After coming out of an expense, that is money gone out. How are you getting money back into your system? There is no way of getting money back into your system, so you are depending on the next month paycheck again. Moving on from there is the people with highly financial intelligent class. When they have money, they rather buy an asset. And when you buy an asset and you are able to generate income from that asset, okay, that becomes an income that comes back into your income streams. After that money coming into your income streams, then you are now able to buy another asset out of the percentage. And somebody may ask, what do I do? How do I pay my bills? Yes, you use some of that income now to pay for to buy a new asset and therefore pay for your expenses. Okay, so with this person, he may have multiple stream of income coming in, and therefore, if the paycheck stops, whether due to bad health or loss of employment or anything of that sort, he's got a source of income still coming in to take care of anything that he may have got in terms of his liability, as I may refer them to. Okay, so this is how we may look at it in this case. And this is a great work by Robert Kiyosaki, who is a very great mentor that I've just been reading on for quite a long time, you know, and he is the author for Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, he came up with this kind of class. However, what is this game called? The whole game is called cash flow. Where is the cash flowing? And if you remember from our definition, we said that cash flow is any money, okay, that is coming into your pocket and how it is going out of your pocket. So how is your money coming into your pocket and how is it leaving your pocket? It's a great question that we need to be able to answer individually first as we do our financial intelligence assessment, because there is nobody who could assess you best than yourself. So as we leave from here today, having this picture in mind, understand yourself and ask yourself, where is my cash flowing? If all my cash that is coming to me is going out through the window, ask yourself what happened if that stream of income is shut. Okay, so that is one great way that we need to understand where is our money going. Moving on from there, there are 4 ways that we could actually receive income or produce income into our pocket. And with this, I'm going to use the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki as well. And what we need to do is the fact that in the first quadrant, it talks about employee. These are people who are professionals. They are employed and they have a skill. And because they have that skill, they are being paid per hour or per rota or per salary, okay, for cash. So that person is trading his time for cash. Okay, whilst you trade your time for cash, you will be given money. And in this instance, we are traditionally geared towards that kind of area. Nothing wrong with it. The key thing is that don't get too comfortable in that zone. And a key example is that a doctor who just finished medical school may need to work in a medical firm, get paid per the hour or per the month for him to learn the trade, for him to learn the skills and develop himself in that aspect. So he needs to do that. And whilst he is doing that, he's able to also save as well. However, people within this quadrant, when time is not with you, income doesn't come as well. You know, That is the reality of it. There is no leverage because you are not actually using other people's time or other people's money. People are actually, if I should say, using your time, okay, to generate more of their money. And as I said, there is nothing wrong being in there, but the key thing is that are we thinking one step ahead as well? And in order to move one step ahead, is the next quadrant is the self-employed. I am a professional. I don't want to be working for somebody. I want to be working as my own boss. Great. Being your own boss is great. However, what we should understand is that you are your own boss and your work is you. Where is your boss? He's not there. Okay, I'll come back later. When your business tends to be in that format, you have a situation that you should understand that you are your boss. You are everything. You are your business. And without you, the business is not generating income. So you are also not using leverage. Although you may have employees working for you and other stuff things, but if the final product is not signed off with by you, or the client comes in and you are not there, and because of that, the client will rather want to leave or will come back later, then you are self-employed. You are using your time to generate money, okay? And that is one of the key aspects. And the amount of active work that you put in will determine how much money that you make, okay? So whatever you do will be whatever you get out of it. That is the left-hand side of the quadrant that we may have a look at in this case. And in most times, people within this area are very professional. They know what they're doing and they understand exactly what goes on. The next aspect is the business owners. He owns a business and he owns a system. Owning a business and being self-employed are two different things. Because the key thing is that at this stage, that person may be using leverage. What is he leveraging on? He's using other people's time, okay, and to actually generate more money. He's put in a system and a process of the work for the work to be done. So when that system and process is put in place, people will follow that system and process in order to generate the cash flow for him. So he or she doesn't really need to be there, but however, work goes on in this case. Income does not depend on him being active involved in the work, okay? And people are the ones who are actually working for him actually to generate money. Then we move on to the last part of the quadrant, okay, which is the investor. He owns his money and therefore he invests his money with people and businesses. So whilst he invests his money with people, he's able to leverage heavily on that and use the knowledge of people and the expertise of those people to actually generate more money for himself. So it's about choosing wisely where he invests his money. And your money works for you and you don't have to technically be working. All you need to be doing is the strategic implementation of the rightful investments that you need to be inputting in place. When that happens, you're going to actually generate much more wealth in this case. And so as we could see from this quadrant, there are the left side and the right side. The ones on the left side are able to generate much more passive income. And those on the left side are solely able to generate what we call active income, because without being active, you are not generating money. But those on the right-hand side, whilst you are even asleep, your money will be making money for you. However, one key thing that we need to understand is that those on the right-hand side are taking advantage of something that in the system, you know, and what Robert usually says that it is something that you are not supposed to be told. You know, the big guys don't want us to know or don't want you to know, because the fact is that when you know, you will start thinking about something else. But don't forget, there is a young generation that needs to fill the left-hand side to move to the right-hand side. So when you move from the left-hand side and you're going to the right-hand side, it is not a panic. The whole thing is that there will be another new crop of people joining into from the left-hand side. And any person who gets into the I or the B section or the right-hand side will once have been on the left-hand side, but move and work his way into the right-hand side. I do respect the fact that some people are inheriting huge wealth, which allow them the access to pretty much go straight into being an investor. But the fact is that we also do recognize the fact that there are people who have been given that opportunity and they've invested wrongly and just messed the opportunity up in this case. So that is some of the key things that we need to understand in relation to the 4 ways that we could produce income. And as I said at the beginning on this slide, you don't need to panic wherever position that you find yourself, but you need to identify where do you place yourself on this quadrant. And wherever you find yourself on this quadrant, you now need to be able to have a good understanding of how do I move from one quadrant to the other quadrant and therefore to the other quadrant. The key thing is that it is about learning, it's about networking, and it's about knowing the right stuff in this case. The next aspect that we're going to look at is there are 5 levels of investors. The last quadrant, we said are investors. There are 5 levels of investors. We are all investors. We all have money. We put money into the bank. Even when our salary comes in and stays there for 24 hours, we are getting some level of interest from that. That may be. The first level is the zero financial intelligence level. With this person, the paycheck comes in, and the fact is that we don't have money for ourselves. You know, why? Because we pay the rent, we pay the electricity bill, the water bill, the school fees, all this sort of other bills that needs to go out, the Netflix, and all those sort of things as well. And at the end of the day, how much is left for us to save or to do anything with it? None, you know. And this is very much a drastic area that we could not want to find ourselves, because if you find yourself in the zero financial intelligence level, whereby there is no money left at the end of the month, you know, there is a big problem. Your huge life depends on the hands of somebody. Is depending on the pension pot, you know, and the fact is that how much is pension at this moment, and then the state pension in UK at the moment, I think it's roughly around £450, if I'm not mistaken, you know. Having that kind of amount, would that be sufficient for you in 10, 20, 30 years whilst you are on retirement? Is that going to be enough for you to live on, you know? So as soon as such a person leaves job, he dips down, you know, and that is what somebody would say, the shocks has gone down. You know, shocks not in red at that stage. And at that stage, we don't want people to get into that aspect. You need to move up. So as long as you have a strategy, you need to, and as we remember for financial independence, there should be surplus cash. When there is a surplus cash, then you can move into the next level, which is the saver, okay, level. And we say that it is very much a weird thing, but we say that savers are for losers. Okay, you put your money in the bank or you put your money under your pillow or wherever it is, I have enough cash. But what is enough cash? You know, cash is liquid and cash flies. That is the reality of life. You know, you have the money in the bank will be giving you an interest of 2%. And even now, you hardly may get 1%, you know, with the bank of interest rate going down. And even if in Ghana or wherever you find yourself, the interest will not be as great as it could be. Over a long period of time, your money will be eroded, okay, with inflation. And the value for money today will never be the same as tomorrow. And it'll never be the same as 10 years' time. So there is a big situation out there. The next level is the fact that, oh, I'm too busy, okay? And the I am too busy level is very much a level whereby the person is either too busy with his profession, you know, I want to achieve the status as a consultant before I will start doing my own business. You know, I want to achieve the level of this before I will be thinking about business. Business is not my mind now, okay? And also, there is other group of people who falls in that I'm too busy level. People who say, you know what, business is not for me. There is nothing wrong with that. If business is not for you, it's okay. But are you tagging along with somebody who could drag you passive income? And when I say tagging along, are you able to pretty much understand who do I tag on with? Who is it that I can trust and tag on with and therefore develop a business along with him? And when you are able to get such people, then the money that you are supposed to rather saving under your pillow or in your bank, it moves to that kind of person or that kind of investment and therefore generate you more passive income. So is it about buying stocks? okay, buying a share in Facebook, buying a share in Zoom. Now the shares of Zoom, okay, trust me, it's gone up so phenomenally now. And the key thing is that people who have invested in it, you know, may have good returns in 10 years time. You know, if you bought Facebook shares when they started in less than 10 years now, okay, it was at $26 when Facebook started. At the moment, the share price of Facebook is more than $400, you know, in less than 20 years, and it's gone up, you know, in 200-fold as well. So these are the group of people that, you know, they have the money, they don't save it in the bank, but they rather push it into other level of investment to get more level of income. Then the fourth level that we have is I am professional level. The fact is that most people may go into business and it's like, oh, you know what, I know what I'm doing. I will use my own money and I will pretty much be able to grow my business. I'm happy with my business where it is. Great. The key thing is that at each level that we may find ourselves, are we able to generate that extra income towards our retirement? You know, are we going to be financially independent if something happened to us that we are not able to go into work tomorrow? If the answer is yes, fine. But however, I am professional level, such a person is not able to fully involve yet because he's not actually using more of other people's time or more of other people's money, you know. And that is one key aspect that we need to understand from this kind of level of investors. Then the next level is the capitalist level. On the capitalist level, here is where we normally see the right-hand side of the quadrant, guys, the business owners and the investors. What they use is that they use other people's time, which is OPT, and they use other people's money as well. So they're able to use other people's money, leverage upon that in order for them to actually gain more money. And the word leverage became, like, I'm an engineer by profession, but when I turned into business much deeper and went to business school and we're talking about leverage, it became much more clearer because the fact is that in engineering, we talk about using a leverage to do this, using a leverage to do that, and the hammer and global and all those sort of things could help you do that. Yes, in life, that is what happened. But you need to strategize it well in order to make sure that you're making a rightful decision. If not, you'll be doing a bad decision, which will turn you down as well. In the corporate world as well, they are able to use taxation to reduce what they give to the taxman. You know, we all get paid with our paycheck, and when that paycheck comes in, you get, oh, 4,000. Yeah, actually it is 2,000 that came into your account, or 3,500, or whatever it is. A good amount of money goes to the exchequer. And the key thing is that it is because of taxation. And corporate organizations have got different ways in order to reduce this kind of level of taxations. So this is another set of ways that we need to look at it. Which level of investor are you? Identify yourself in a specific spot. However, how do you manage to move from one spot to the other spot is where the question lies as well. Then we also now need to move on to smart investment, rules of investment. Okay, the first one that we need to understand is that understand yourself and gain financial knowledge. Gaining of the financial knowledge is great. Understanding yourself in relation to how much money do I have, what are my sources of income, and all those sort of other things are very great. Great in the sense that when you know it, then you could be able to go into what needs to happen. The next stage is self-assessment and the market research. You need to do a self-assessment of yourself, understand who you are, how you could actually move on, and therefore do a good market research as well. As you do your market research, be open-minded and go on well with it. Moving on from there, we need to understand that we need to invest in cash flow assets. Assets that will generate us more cash flow is very much important for us because that is where the independency will come from. Because the more asset that we have that is able to generate a cash flow, the more independent that we become. Another great one that I will talk of is the fact that be honest and build your network. Okay, the key thing is that everybody said that business people are crooks. Should I say yes or no? It is a wide one over there. But the fact is that being honest in business, okay, lead you far, and being crook push you down quickly as well. Because the fact is that in most of my businesses that I've gone in now, it is largely based on the fact that dealing with somebody on a different level, and that person is able to trust me, understand me, and therefore give me the next opportunity. Okay. And the fact is that people will call in and say that, you know what, you're the only person that I can talk to about this. You're the only person that I can deal with on this level. Okay, do you want us to go into it? And we move into that kind of situation. And building your network is very important, because the network that you have will actually determine what the way that you think. Okay, because the fact is that if you think, or you go into a network whereby it is a group of people who think about the fact that don't go into it, don't go into business, you know, it's actually slow progress for you as well. And one key thing is that people may ask, when you want to grow, don't be shy about it. You will be laughed at, you know, and people will tell you things like, play it safe, you should be happy where you are, and you are changing nowadays. When I call you, you don't have time, and all those kind of things. But the key thing is that losing focus in order to retire poor, you know, whilst you satisfy your friends, is a great level of what, disrespect to yourself than doing it in the right way. Now, I will move on to the next aspect, which is developing business in Ghana. And on this topic, I'm going to, because it's a wide topic on its own, you know, but I'm just going to give my tips that you need to go through whilst you develop business in Ghana. Because the reason why this topic is out there is that most people have come in and asked the question, oh, so how do you live in UK, have businesses in Ghana? How can you do it? And are you sure things are going well and all those kind of things? Yes, it's going well. The key thing is that my key tips is that research the market. Don't follow the crowd. Don't think about the fact that everybody is doing X, so that's what I should be doing. Do your own research, understand your own market, and therefore get into that kind of business. The next thing is that you need to understand the Ghanaian mindset. Those of us who may have lived here for 1 year, 2 years, 30 years, 40 years, when we want to do business in Ghana, we expect everything to be as it's supposed to be. But the fact is that it is when it happens, is when you have it. There are means to actually get yourself assimilated through things, okay, with the use of consultants and experts within the field to ensure that you get it done quicker, okay? And the frustration is going to be there. And the fact is that how you deal with the frustration is very important. The next point is that you need to be open-minded and build trust. Yes, people may talk about the fact that, oh, Ghana, you can't trust them because the fact is that they are all in for their own personal gain. The fact is that it's not always the case. You need to understand how to build trust, because the fact is that if you can't trust somebody, how do you expect the person to also trust you, that you're going to also look for his personal or self-interest as well? We need to also develop control, remote HR management. You know, remote HR management is going to be very much important, whereby how do you control businesses or your business that you've got away from you in this case? The next thing that we need to look at, location, location, location. It is very important, the business that you do, you need to look at the fact that, is that location worth me investing in that business for that tune of money or what? And what do I need to do to ensure that I've got the rightful location for the right business? Follow on from there is diversification. Do not put your eggs in one basket. The Ghanaian business market is so dynamic, okay, that things change so quickly. And the fact is that if your business is in one industry, you may be suffering no time, okay? In no time, you might be suffering in the sense that things could change very quickly, you know, and a lot of us may have experienced it. You have a business proposal, it is so good, so lucrative. As soon as you go into it, the fact is that something changed and it all goes in the wrong direction, okay? So please make sure that you diversify your portfolio and ensure that you have a wider scope to look into. The last one I will touch base on is that take care of your guys or they will take care of themselves. What do I mean? If you don't take care of them and make sure that they are enough for them to live on or be depending on, they will find means to generate their own source of income through your business. And that is the reality of this level. At this stage, I will invite Patrick to actually just give more light on this topic for about 3 to 5 minutes before, after that, we'll move into our discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard, and good evening to you all. Well, concerning the matter of developing business in Ghana, I'm going to touch a little bit on research the market. The most important part of doing business in this country is to understand the various requirements if you want to develop your business. And you may have to pay particular attention to the legal requirements as well as the tax regimes. One of the areas that we can make a whole lot of savings if you want to do business is the tax issues. And the information out there is there are a whole lot of taxes in this country that impede the development of your business. If you don't know what to do and you don't have the right people to advise you, yes, that is it. But then if you do your research well, you get the right people with the right caliber to help you, you will be able to make so much savings. We have had instances where people take 6 months to just get the business registered and get it out there because they are not getting license, or because the mass market is not being researched and the right people is not being done. So here, what I want to touch about is try to know everything about your registration requirements, what the licensing requirement of your business is, and how you can get that. And also acquaint yourself with the tax regime. There are so many tax incentives and tax benefits that you can get if you want to do business in this country. However, you need to meet the requirement for those benefits. So you need to get to know much about that. And we have so many locational incentives. Richard mentioned location, location, location. I was smiling because where you situate your business will give you a whole lot of tax benefits based on the kind of business that you are doing. For instance, if you want to go into manufacturing, whilst everybody is paying 25% as a corporate tax, you can end up paying nothing based on where your business is. And even if you are in Accra and you are manufacturing and you want to situate in Kaswa, which is not a regional capital, you have a whole lot of incentive pertaining to your taxes. So location incentive is very, very important. And the type of business that you want to go to, you need to really assess what are some of the exemptions that I can get? What are some of the holidays that I can enjoy if I want to go into this particular business? I have the same amount of money, let's say 400,000. Either you go into agriculture or you go into real estate. It's going to determine how much benefit you will get. For the next 5 years or the next 10 years, I can end up paying nothing to government, and I'll be getting my income, and I'll be developing my business in that sense. However, if you go into real estate, the same amount of money, the same revenues you'll be getting. However, the percentage that you will pay as taxes and any other form of requirement becomes so huge. So the exemptions must also be considered. Well, I also mentioned the infrastructure. The kind of business that you are going to go into will depend on the infrastructures available. Here in Ghana, we have so many lack in our infrastructure development. So you need to pay attention to that infrastructure setup in line with the business you want to do. There are a whole lot of things I can talk about the Ghanaian mindset, but time is not on our side. Because to understand the Ghanaian market and develop business in Ghana, you need to understand how Ghanaians think. I started my business not really understanding the way Ghanaians think, and I learned it the hard way. If you understand the Ghanaian mindset pertaining to business, you will be able to know which direction to develop your business, the kind of people to deal with, and how to deal with them in a way to build trust for the development of the business. If people trust you and your product, they trust your brand, your business rise, your business will go up. However, if you don't understand Ghanaian business setup, you don't understand the people, you are not able to build a trust, then they will take care of themselves with the assumption that you don't think and take care of them. So Richard, I will pause here, and I think all other questions related to this area, we will talk about it in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And I thank you for that enlightenment. So bringing our discussion, our presentation to a close before we move into the discussion, we've covered quite a few things that brings a lot of full of thought, you know, and I know that most of them will also come with questions in order to clarify any doubt that we may have. So at this moment in time, I will be handing back again to Douglas for him to take over with the question and answer session. And I hope that we're going to have a very fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much, Richard. And thank you to Patrick and Daniela for their insightful contribution to the conversation as well. I'm sure I speak for the rest of us when I say that we have gained invaluable information from the content you've delivered to us. But also, we have benefited from the tone with which you have delivered this, non-threatening and very calm. I learned a lot, so thank you very much. Just to recap on what you have covered, you have taken us through financial independence. You've also shed a light on planning towards retirement, debt-free lifestyle, and then you took us through how to be smart with investment. And then at the latter part of your content, you took us through some tips as to how to develop business in Ghana. I am fascinated by the intervention from Daniela when she took us through mortgaging and how to be smart with the way you can arrange your mortgage such that you can also benefit from it. That's very practical for us, and I'm sure many of us will be putting these things into practice. Thank you for Patrick as well, who has given us some insight into how to benefit from some of the tax waivers that successive governments have granted, in that depending on where you situate your business, you could be in to benefit from those tax discounts as well. Thank you so much. At this juncture, we'll be going through some questions, particular questions, and I will ask that if you want to type in your question into the chat box, and if the question is to a particular panel, because we are having 3 people to take the questions. We have Richard, who is our main speaker, but also we have Patrick and Daniela to be able to help with responding to some of the questions. So if you have a question that is specific to any of the panels, then please mention their names. They will be Richard, Patrick, and Daniela. At this moment, I'll be going through some of it. I'm going through it as in the chat box, but as I mentioned, we will also have the opportunity to open the floor so that you can raise your hands and I'll call you to unmute yourself and you'll be able to ask those questions. So the first question I have in front of me is to Daniela, and it is simple to arrange with the banks. Is it simple to arrange with the banks to switch from monthly payment into the fortnightly payment that you suggested? How simple is it to make that arrangement with the bank?
Okay, it's simple enough because they are interested. What they are interested in is to make sure that you're making the payments. How you make it, how often you make it, it's not much of a big deal. So it's just a matter of a phone call to tell them that you want to do it that way, you're comfortable doing it that way, or you can set a standing order. You know, you can set 2 standing orders, one going in the middle of the month and the other going at the end of the month. So it's straightforward. It's not a difficult task.
Thank you. And that's a straightforward answer as well. Thank you for that. So depending on your conversation with the bank, you can be able to change it to monthly or, as you mentioned, fortnightly. Thank you very much for that. Any other question that I've missed? Any other question? Okay, so there's one question that is not targeted or directed at anybody in particular. It says between liquid investment and fixed assets, what are the benefits of either of them? Richard, if you can take that.
Yeah, I will
Between
take
liquid
that.
investment and fixed assets, what are the benefits of each of them?
Okay, so in relation to liquid asset, we're talking largely about asset or investment that you are able to get quick access to it. Okay, the advantage is that your money is much more closer to you, and you are able to get quick access onto it for you to be able to use it. One key thing is that is what we talk about diversification. Okay, and diversification is in the order that you may want to have some liquid and some fixed as well. And in order to understand the benefit, it is much more of a personal assessment that needs to be happening, you know, because if you have a fixed asset, so for example, I'll give a typical example. I know of somebody who bought a land, started building, he got into a bit of hardship, and the call was that, you know, I need to sell this land. And when he spoke to me, it was much more of a situation that, you know, you may be able to get a quick relief from somewhere or somebody in order for you to pretty much relieve yourself. However, don't sell that land, okay, and therefore get something to redeem yourself. If his asset was into a liquid asset, which was like a savings in a bank, he would have just reached onto that money quickly and taken it out without even asking. At the moment that person is out of that regime, okay, and he's okay now, and he's still got his land, he's be able to solve that problem. However, some people, as we normally may say, diversification is great. Have some in liquid, have some in solid, and if anything, you should be able to know where the balance is. And the key notion here is that planning towards retirement. Okay, so if you are planning towards retirement, and the key question keep coming, when do I retire, or when do you want to retire? It's up to you.
Thank you, Richard. I can see that two people have raised their hands. I notice you. I'll come to you, but let me take one more question from the chat, and then I'll come to those who have raised their hands. Can you please elaborate on acquiring a mortgage and the different mortgages that are available? I think that goes to Daniela again. What are the different mortgages that are available? And then if you can elaborate on how to acquire a mortgage as well.
Okay, so if you want a mortgage, the main ones that they will give you is the interest-only mortgage or the capital repayment mortgage. Now, I wouldn't advocate the interest-only mortgage. I wouldn't advise anyone to go for that, because what that basically means is that the monthly payments that you make will go on just interest. So the balance never goes down till you put money in it. But with the capital repayment, what happens is the monthly payments that you're making, half of it may go on into interest, but then some of it will help reduce the actual money borrowed for the mortgage. How to get a mortgage, there are a lot of factors. They look at income. They have to make sure that you can comfortably pay the amounts that they will tell you to pay every month. They look at your expenditure. So every situation, everybody will be different. It's specific. It's tailored to everybody's, to the person's specific need. So I can't give a general answer to that. It will depend on the person's income, their expenditure, how long they've worked in the employment that they're in, and then whether they have sufficient deposit. So it's a range of those factors. Thank you. I think Douglas is mute. It's on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you for that, Daniela. I noticed there's a hand from KAA. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. I will say that let your question be as direct as possible so that we can have the opportunity for others to ask questions. So KAA, you can ask your question now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wonderful.
Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the presentation. I think that you should be organizing a further one so that you go into a little bit detail about the various aspects, because some of them are very generic.
Okay.
For instance, talking about the mindset of people in Ghana. What is it? Because we said understand the mindset, but tell us what's the mindset? What have you experienced? And I think that will help.
Okay.
In terms of the mortgage, quickly, I think that a good difference that you need to know is about the what do you call it? The flexible one. What's it called again? The fixed payments ones and the more flexible ones. There's a term for it. It just escaped me.
You mean a tracker?
Yes.
Variable.
Yeah. The variable. The variable. Because that depends. Because when you've got a fixed one, then they cap you as to how much you can pay in terms of your returns, because then you attract charges. When I took out a mortgage personally, from day one, I never fixed it because my intention was to pay it as quickly as possible. And yes, and therefore I did not attract any, I would say, penalties, and I could pay freely. And the reason is that I looked at the UK economy, and then I noticed that it would take a lot of interests being raised over a period of time before I'll be worse off. And guess what? The interest rates has rather come down. So
Okay.
my advice to anybody is that go for the variable so that you do not attract any charges and you can pay, every 2 pesos you get, put it in there, because most of the interest are charged on a daily basis. That is just free advice. Okay. Now, my question is this. My question is that if you look, I'm talking about the impact that the credit crunch and coronavirus.
Okay, I will ask that you go straight to your question.
Yeah,
so
I'm going straight to the question.
People to, okay,
yeah, I'm going straight to the question now. So if you allowed me, I would have finished by now. The credit crunch and the coronavirus has really scared us, those of us who wants to go into investments, because we know how the Wall Street, duped people and those narratives around there. And that is what has scared us into investments, that you are going to invest your money and you may not see any return. And at the end of the day, you're going to go bankrupt. So please, Richard in particular, can you disabuse that myth? What is holding us back in terms of investments? How do we make sure that we invest in the right, whatever assets or whatever you call it? I don't have the business language for that. So that we make sure we get a return. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. One key thing is that any kind of depression or recession that we may find ourselves, any kind of difficulties, that comes is a great opportunity for investment. That is a reality, because the more that there is difficulty, the more that things becomes cheaper for us. So if anything, to answer your question, it is not a bad time to invest, but you need to understand what you are investing in. Understanding what you're investing in is going to be very much important at this stage. So for example, those of us who may be thinking of buying a mortgage in the near future, okay, is it the best time to be buying now or not? And you need to be able to understand the key parameters that involve in it. However, investing in general, if it is a fixed asset investment, okay, which, if I should say a fixed deposit investment, sorry, it might not be the best time, okay? But if you are investing into a venture and you have done your research very well, then you are in the best moment to actually do that, because everything is quite low and everybody may be skeptic and all those kind of things. And the fact is that if you're able to survive your business during this period, okay, then you will be able to survive when it gets better. And also to talk slightly more about your initial statement, yes, this is quite generic and we've got a limited time to it and we needed to touch base on quite a few things. So this is quite much a strategic level. We might be planning a second one that may deal in much more specific. However, we are willing, and if actually I and my team are willing to actually speak to anybody on a one-to-one basis if you could send us a message as well.
Thank you, Richard. There are so many questions that we need to go through. So I'll also say that Richard, Patrick, and Daniela, if you can wrap up your answers for us, that would be great for us so that we can go through all the questions that we have.
Okay.
I have one question here. How do you ensure you do not lose money on capital gains tax, and how can your children save on inheritance tax? So how do you ensure that you do not lose money on capital gains tax? And how do you ensure that your children save on inheritance tax? Any one of you can take it.
I think, Patrick, are you okay to take that?
Okay, let me talk about this. When we talk of capital gain tax, it has to do with asset value erosion. That the more you use your asset, the value of your assets goes down. And that's why we have a provision for asset maintenance. And that is the depreciation or the capital allowance, which is allowed for tax purposes. So every asset that you are using to generate an income for a business, a value of it is supposed to be held to replace the asset. Now, the interesting part is we just hold that as part of our profit, and we don't use it for the purpose that it is intended for. So then when you are hit on capital gain tax, because the value seems to be reducing, you are not replacing it. Capital gain tax is when you gain that you pay. I use the asset to make an income for, let's say, 500. It is the income that I've gained from the asset that I pay the tax on. However, the value of the asset itself keep going down, and we have made provision in form of capital allowance or depreciation to replace the value of that asset. So that is how we can maintain the value of your assets and not lose in terms of the value from capital gain tax.
Thank you, Richard.
And also, some things that we might also understand is that the capital gain tax, we shouldn't be scared of it. If you get good tax accountant, he will be able to manage how best you manage those kind of things as well. Okay. In this case.
Okay. So I meant to say thank you, Patrick, actually. So thank you, Richard and Patrick, for taking it in turns to answer the question. I also have a hand raised from Shelterwise Foundation. So if you can unmute yourself, the name I have is Shelterwise Foundation. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Yeah, my question goes to Daniela. Daniela, you spoke about having some form of protection whilst we journey through becoming financially independent. I know someone who has a critical illness cover. Is that policy good, or which policy would you recommend?
Okay. Thank you for your question. It's important that we have some cover, as I already mentioned when I was giving the presentation. But there are different types of cover, and with the critical illness, the problem with that is what you may see as critical, the organization giving the policy may not see that as critical. Now, I'll give you a quick example. We had a client who had cancer stage 1, and this client thought that, okay, to them, it's critical. They could get a payout whilst they get their treatment and everything, and their claim was declined. This client then progressed to cancer stage 2, declined, cancer stage 3, declined, and it was only when it was very critical, you know, when they were in intensive care, that's when the company was happy to pay out. Now, what I would recommend is for people to get on serious illness cover. That covers things like cancer, heart attack, stroke. You know, it covers some of the mild things. Yeah, so basically, I would recommend the serious illness cover as opposed to critical illness. But the critical illness one is the one that most companies tend to offer, especially for those who are into mortgages. When you buy a mortgage, they try to add that. You know, they try to tell you about critical illness. If you do have it, please do review it, and you may want to consider the critical illness cover instead.
Thank you, Daniela. And I'm going to ask 2 questions because they are a bit related, and I will ask any of the panel members to take it. The first question is, while in the UK, how do you reduce your tax burden? So if you are in the UK, how do you reduce your tax burden? Actually, I'll let you answer this and I'll bring in the second question. So any of you can take that. How do you reduce your tax burden whilst in the UK?
Okay, it depends on the kind of business that you might be in. And if you are in the corporate world, whereby you have a corporate business, you know, you might be able to reduce your tax burden by looking at what best suits your business in this case. And saying that, what we could understand is that, for example, if you are into maybe buy to let mortgages, okay, how do you reduce your tax liability? Do you want to form a corporate organization whereby the business will actually own the buy to let and therefore be able to do everything through corporation tax? Okay, the corporation tax at that stage will also allow you to release all the expenses that you may be incurring in that property. And when you are able to release all these expenses, it actually will reduce the net income that you are going to receive. And when you're able to receive that reduce that net income, then your corporation liability, your corporation tax liability actually reduces for you. And in most cases, there are other side benefits that we could look into, which largely it may not be widely spoken of at this moment online. But the fact is that most of these things we could actually look at it in the personal one-to-one basis as well.
Thank you. And just to emphasize the point that Richard made earlier, that Richard, Patrick, and Daniela have availed themselves for some consultation. At least they've mentioned that they can do free initial consultation. So if you want to take advantage of that, at the end of this webinar, we'll provide you with their details so that you can contact them for some consultation that might be more particular or individual to yourself. But I have a question that I think could go to Patrick. Do you get a tax waiver for real estate in Ofori-Yentumi? And that's very important to us. We are from Ofori-Yentumi, so if anybody is going to situate any real estate business in Ofori-Yentumi, we'll be interested.
Well, for the tax waiver, the focus has been on manufacturing and agriculture. That is where the government is placing emphasis on. Now, when it comes to real estate, currently there's no corporate tax waiver for real estate in Ghana. Currently, it's for agriculture and particularly for manufacturing. That's where we have these concessional incentives.
Thank you for that. And I've noticed a few more hands. If you want to raise your hand, what you do is you click on participants, and then there will be an opportunity to raise your hands there. I've noticed a few. I'm going to come to that, but there's a direct question that I think Daniela can take, which is that does the fortnightly payment strategy apply to only mortgages, or it can apply to bank loans as well?
I don't think it would apply to bank loans. The dynamics in mortgage is totally different from what it is with bank loans. So I think it's a different ball game. I wouldn't think it would apply with the mortgages. Sorry, with the loans, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So now I can go to Henry. Henry, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question, I'll again say if you can be as direct as possible so that we have more time for more questions. Thank you. Henry.
Hi, good evening. Question is, can you provide more details on, the tax benefits for the location? Because Richard mentioned location. And Patrick also said something about the tax benefits in different, where you situate your business. And ideally, I don't know it probably will warrant a detailed webinar about how to choose location, tax benefit for those various locations, and the businesses you can get tax benefits for in various locations.
Thank you, Henry, and thank you for making it very snappy as well. I suggest, Patrick, can you give us a broad sense of some of the locations that are a particular priority for governments and some of the businesses that accrue those discounts or waivers?
Okay. All right. The location incentives are in three forms. You situating your business in a regional capital is one. You situating your business in any other city which is not a regional capital, and you situating your business in Accra and Tema. Now, there's emphasis for manufacturing. If you have a manufacturing company and you are situated in Tema and Accra, you are just like any other person in terms of corporate taxes. You pay the same tax as any other company. However, if you are a manufacturing company and you are in any other regional capital, instead of 25% corporate tax, you are going to pay 18.5% as corporate tax. So that you are making some savings on your corporate tax based on your location. Now, if you happen to be in any other city which is not a regional capital, then you are coming to 12.5% of corporate tax for just being in a manufacturing. Okay, so that is what the locational incentive is centered on. The focus has been on you, one, being into manufacturing, and two, if you are a young entrepreneur. Now, a young entrepreneur in the tax sense is you starting your business afresh and you are recruiting at least 10 people. You'll be qualified as a young entrepreneur. And whatever business you are into, it doesn't have any cut. Whatever business you are into, for the first 5 years, the government gives you 5-year tax holiday. You don't pay any corporate tax to government. Then after the 5 years, based on your location, then you are entitled to other locational incentive as applied to the manufacturing. So that is the tax incentives associated with the location of your business.
Thank you,
Thank
Patrick.
you very much, Patrick.
Yeah. I also see a hand from Nana Boateng. Nana, if you can unmute yourself and be direct with your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Douglas. I think I read down lots of questions, but I want to put this question to Richard. On you talking about the quadrant for left quadrant and right quadrant, is it possible that one could actually move easily or still be in one of the left quadrants and try to, how do I put this? Try to make more sense into the, or move quicker into the right quadrant. The question, I think, is a bit vague. Let me try and just.
I think I've got it in this order. I'll try to answer, and if I don't, then you could come in again. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. So in relation to the quadrant, the left and the right, there is no barrier in order for you to move from the left quadrant onto the right quadrant. So as I was saying, if you are a medical doctor and you finish your medical school, graduate and fly your hat off, you start practicing in the hospital. Great, you get paid every month. You get your salary, you save. If you are able to pay yourself, which is saving some of your money, you are able to do that. After a certain period, you may say that I want to open my own practice. Okay, so you may open your own practice, have being the surgeon over there, or what we call the GP in UK, or the physician, and you'll be practicing. You have your network of people that work with you, your nurses and all those kind of things. You now move into the bottom quadrant, which is the self-employed. Now, what you could do is that, have you got people that you could work along, a team of specialists, consultants, and all those kind of things, that you could work along and set up a hospital? So when you set up that hospital, and you could look at the relation here, if you are a GP or a local practitioner, somebody comes in, I want to see Dr. Boateng, he's not in. Okay, when is it back? He may say that I want to come back this time. But when that person moves and join hands with a group of consultants and specialists and form a hospital, then they may have maybe 25%, 4 people having 25% in that hospital. He may still be able to maintain his local practice and have the hospital, okay? Or he may say that, okay, I know of a certain business that the person wants me to invest. I've got enough money from my local practice, and I will invest in that business. So I could invest in in a pharmaceutical company, which is actually producing any vaccine for this COVID or whatever it is now. and he may put his money in that pharmaceutical company as an investor. So he's got his legs in two positions. One in the self-employed, whereby he owns his general practice, okay, whilst he's invested in maybe a pharmaceutical company or in a hospital or even in any other business. It could be in farming or something like that. That maybe is operating separately, not taking time off him, but pretty much generating revenue to him. Does that help in answering your question, Anna?
It helps partly. Sorry, my system is misbehaving, so I cannot do any further. It helps partly. I guess I'd have to just go off here. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good evening and good morning to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
and good
Nana.
morning too.
And for those who do not know, Nana is calling from Australia, so his time is not as close to ours as Ghana will be. So I have also seen a hand from Ebenezer Kweku Gand. So Ebenezer, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question as well, and then I'll come to some of the questions that are in the chat box. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Good. I would like to comment and then also contribute to what Richard has just said. Actually, I'm also in the same business as he is, and then I want to be more specific about some of the things that is being done in Africa, especially Ghana, because most people you meet in Europe, they would like to invest back home, but there are some few things, there are some risks that they don't want to take. Some of the questions they ask you, how much will I gain if I invest that? Because they don't have the time. Before you venture or you take any business in Africa or in Ghana, there's something that you have to do. You have to do your business research very well. Without a very good business research, you lose and you fail. In doing business research, we have something we call it market analysis. The market analysis will give you some elements. Who are already in the business? How strong are they? For example, those who want to go into real estate, they are big gurus already in the market. Trazaco, Reggie Manuel, and all those people. They've been there for ages. Do you have the capital to match them? Yes, especially if you want to establish a business within Accra. Or are you going to Tamale? Or are you going to Sinyane, like the location they spoke about? So you need to do a bit of a good research in the market. And then one important thing is the entry strategy. Even though you are Ghanaian, how do you enter into that particular business? Are you going to form a partnership? Do you have the time to form partners? So these are very important technicalities that will help you to succeed if you're able to get those information and dissect it and then ascertain yourself whether you are competent enough before you can enter into such business. So it is very important that the research parts and then it's done well. So once it's done and then you get all your bullet points, all your report, and then you get a green light. Because most people, most Ghanaians, what they want to do is that they don't want to go into the formal investment. When I mean formal investment, like going in and doing the registration, they want to buy 1 or 2 taxis and they come back here, or they want to just buy a plot, build 1 or 2 bedrooms, rent it out. But they don't want to go into official registration, get the official registration license and get all those permits because they don't have the time. So if you want to go into formal investment or formal business or informal, you have to also know the two so that you can be helped. Because most people, anytime you mention that doing business in Ghana, they don't want to hear Ghana because somebody did it, a friend did it, and a friend failed. They want to just buy cars and be sending cars off. Of course, you can use that type of business, but is it formal? Because when it's formal, there are few things that you could benefit when things get rough, like the insurance aspect that it was spoken of. But majority of us, we don't have the time. Yeah, so these are the contributions that I would like to add.
Thank you very much, Ebenezer. And
Thank you very much, Ebenezer.
It's very good that you've added that, talking about how to formalize our businesses. And that leads me to a question that came in earlier, but I wanted to ask a few people who had raised their hands. I noticed that Ken, your hand is up. I'll come back to you, but let me take a few more questions before I come back. I'm going to ask 2 questions. One is to do with the sorts of investment opportunities that are currently available in Ghana, but also there's a question about how much time intensiveness is involved in investing in Ghana. So it's a two-barrel question, and I think any of you can pick it. What are the investment opportunities in Ghana, and how much time is involved in investing in Ghana?
Okay, investment is as we might understand it, is even supposed to take huge priority over even a job search. Okay, and the key thing is that the amount of time that we put into searching for jobs, okay, is great, but do we put that kind of level of time into investing? Investing in Ghana will require time. It will require commitment, okay? And to add on to it, it also will require a huge heart as well. Because the fact is that you cannot spend less time and expect a huge return. And business doesn't work that way. Business is about the time you put in, the risks, okay, that you take. When you take high risks, you will get high returns, okay? But however, if you're not giving in much time, you will not be able to get much more return from it, and especially when it comes to the Ghanaian context. However, there are methodologies, ways of looking at how to do it remotely, okay? And how do you actually get the people and the network that you can work with? The key thing is that I may just equate it to the sense that you need to surround yourself with people that could help you achieve your dream. If you don't have those people with you, and you don't have even a single person that will be able to help you achieve your dream and do the legwork, then it's going to be much more difficult. In relation to the investment opportunity in Ghana, it's vast. Ghana is a developing country. Ghana has got one of the greatest landscape that we may have. Whether you want to be going into agro processing, agri, manufacturing, buy and sell, all these kind of businesses, they do flourish. But the key thing that we always talk about the fact is that it's very difficult on this particular program to say that these are the key areas that you need to invest in, okay? However, what we need to understand is the fact that there is a huge level of investment, okay, even from the buying to sell and all the way down to the manufacturing and also the process system and even the IT and all those kind of other aspects. So there are huge level of investment that we could be looking at, either agro processing or within the agri sector or within the manufacturing or the human development stage as well. It's another great level that we could be looking at. But however, as largely as we say, some of these could be something that could have may need a one-to-one discussion. Thank you very much, Douglas.
Thank you. I think the organizers of this wonderful webinar are taking notes, and perhaps investment opportunities in Ghana could be one of the topics that we can put on the agenda. But now I'll go, I noticed that we have about 10 minutes to go. I'll go to Ken. Ken, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
All right. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to ask this question. I'm not a businessman, but I think it's a nice program. And my first question is, if one wants to set up a business, what is actually the quota of employee that one can employ, that one can enjoy tax benefits? Because the trouble is, if I'm giving jobs to if I'm giving jobs to Ghanaians who don't have work to do, obviously I'm helping the government anyway. So wouldn't the government give me enough tax benefit, tax relief, you know what I mean, to be able to employ more? And then on the other hand, why is it that the foreigners normally succeed in getting good deals in running businesses than ordinary Ghanaians? Like I said, I'm not a businessman, so pardon me if I ask any daft question.
Okay, quickly before Patrick will come in and answer part of that question, one of the major things that we need to understand in the aspect of why foreigners enjoy the best, okay, from taxes and all those kind of things, is the fact that they negotiate That is a big thing. And the fact is that they may come in with a huge power. And when I talk about huge power, a huge level of investment, and therefore making sure that they actually negotiate their way. And the other aspect is not just negotiating alone, but also getting the right people to work along with. Tax experts, the tax expert will tell you what you need to do, And when I've done business in the hard way in Ghana, and I've done it the smooth way now as well. Before I met Patrick, I've done business whereby, oh yeah, I'm registering my company. What even to put on the company registration, you need to have an expert to tell you, do this or do that, and that will help you to go around things, And trying to manage your tax liability is nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean that you're unpatriotic, but it also means the fact that you are actually being smart with your investment. Patrick.
Okay. Now, concerning the matter of employees, tax relief on employees, it is only limited to fresh graduates. If you start your business and you employ fresh graduates, you have from 2 to 5. The government will give you 5% tax rebate. That will be that the expenses that you pay to them as a form of salary, 5% of that will be entered as a tax exempt. So they won't pay tax on that to be allowed as a non-taxable expense. Now, if you are falling between 5 to 10, then they will give you 7.5% tax rebate. That is only for fresh graduates, okay? Apart from fresh graduate, any other person that you employ, and a fresh graduate is someone who has been fresh from school and you are the first person employing the person. He has never worked anywhere. You are the first person right after national service. Any other person that you employ, there's no tax benefit on that. Now, back to the matter concerning the foreigners. The commissioner of tax is allowed to give any waiver based on the benefit the government is going to get from the investment. If the government is going to earn so much on the investment and that they need to cut a tax, they're going to grant a specific waiver for you just for the benefit that the investment is going to come in, it is allowed. It's all a matter of petitioning the commissioner and getting the right process to permission the commissioner has been the key. If you use the right people and you are able to make a right point based on the value of your investment, we have companies that are not paying any corporate tax. However, they are supposed to employ more than 3,000 Ghanaians. And the government feels like getting 3,000 Ghanaians to work is better than paying corporate tax for 2 years. So they go for that. So it depends on how you build your case to the commissioner in the form of liaison or negotiation, then the value of the investment that you are going to bring on board.
Thank you, Patrick and Richard. I'm going to take 2 more questions. One is a bit direct, I think. It's, are Ghanaian banks receptive to lending money to foreigners from UK in regards to investing in real estate? So how receptive are Ghanaian banks in lending money to foreigners from the UK who want to go into real estate?
All right, in answering that question, what we need to understand is that Ghanaian banks may not really be, because they need to lend that money to get more money. Okay. However, it also goes down to how your business has been structured and set up. So for example, if your business is not set up in the right way, and for example, you set up a business and you say that, okay, my business is to look at investments in general, yeah, the banks may be reluctant to, and if they notice the fact that you got different legs in different areas, they may be reluctant to lend their money to you as well. And what proposal have you got to actually attain that kind of investment? Yeah. So it is not a situation that they are reluctant, and especially to classify that to foreigners from UK, if you got your proof, for example, those who want mortgages and all those things, it's been offered, and when it comes to whether real estate development itself, then it's also a question of making sure that you could be able to balance the books.
Yeah, thank you. In the interest of time, I'll take another question, which is to do with what would you say is smart investment, and how does one know the right stocks and shares or bonds to invest in that are not very risky? And ties to that, how can one who doesn't live in Ghana invest on the Ghana stock market?
Okay.
So it's a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of
bumped
questions.
into what is smart investment?
Yeah,
how would you identify the right stocks and shares to invest in? And if you are living in the UK, how can you invest in the Ghana stock market?
Okay, in the first part of the question, what is smart investment? You know, we touched slightly on that aspect. When you want to invest, you need to be able to identify what will make you the best of return, and not just the best of return, the sustainable means of return. Sustainability is one of the most important aspects of business. The key thing is that when you look at some businesses, we talk about the fact that, oh, there is another business methodology which looks at different businesses and how they produce income for us. If your investment is going to be sustainable over a long period of time and it's giving you slow amounts of cash, you might be better off in that case. And also, it is about choosing the rightful decision, right? The rightful investment for your particular investment as well. And this question brings into mind of the athlete philosophy. Most athletes that we know are rich when they are playing ball or playing doing the sports that they do, all right? Because they earn a lot of money through that. However, when it comes to retirement, are they able to sustain themselves? When you look at the top richest athletes in the world now, the top 10, 8 of them are not active in sports. And the number 1 now, who is Jordan, okay, Jordan is rich, the richest athlete, worth over 2 billion, not because of the basketball that he played, but because of the smart investment that he did with the money that he received from basketball. Okay, and when he was investing, he did 3 things. He always said this: I tag along with 3 people, a good attorney, a good accountant, okay, and a good investment consultant. And when you tag along with these people, then you'll be able to move into the next step. And when he did it, his last business that he sold was sold for 8 billion, you know, and that is some of the things on smart investment. Investing in stock is great. However, what we should understand is that stock market could go down and could go up. However, what business do you want to invest in? There are some safe bets. If you want to invest in a business like Coca-Cola, nobody on this platform, even your grandparents were not born when Coca-Cola started. It's one of the safest. Its shares will go up gradually, maybe 10% in a year or so. However, if you follow the crowd, and not the crowd per se, but when you follow the riskier ones, which could be things like Zoom or any stock investment that may be generating you 50% in a year, you should understand when to back off and when to pretty much call the shot as well. So you should be able to understand when to stop and when not to stop. Okay, that is another thing as well. Risk is about appetite. The appetite that you have in you, and the fact is that if it's not appetizing, stop eating it. And that is one key thing we understand in business. The last one, in the Ghanaian stock market, to invest in the Ghanaian stock market, there are stock brokers that you need to speak to, and they will actually buy the stocks for you on your behalf. You cannot go into the stock market and buy it directly, and you could buy through a stockbroker in Ghana.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to take one last question from the chat. And that's a question, I think it would be direct, which is that what are the taxes that you are expected to pay if you are into pig farming? If you are into pig farming, what are the taxes that you are expected to pay? Patrick, if you can help us with that, that would be great. Okay.
I think pig farming falls under agriculture. And once you are into agriculture, there's a tax holiday for 5 years. Meaning for a period of 5 years, you are not going to pay any tax in form of corporate tax. After that, then you come to the mainstream, the 25%. and corporate tax. So the benefit that you get is on corporate tax and is free for 5 years.
Okay. Thank you for that. That was very good. I am going to exercise my host privilege and ask Hessen C30 to ask the very last question because your hand is up. I think it has to do with the kind of phone you're using. Hessen, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's me.
Okay, perfect.
Well done for what you are doing, and it's been brilliant. Okay, what I want to know is, while we are here, what are the things we need to put in place so that when we are dead, our children do not lose on inheritance tax?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, inheritance tax is one of the great areas that normally happens when it comes to investments and also carrying on what we need to do. One key thing that we could do, and the first thing is having a will. Okay, if you are able to have a will, that will also be able to help you to reduce your inheritance tax. The second one is also having what we call trustees. So some people are able, for example, if your asset is quite much wider, okay, and you have it, you could form a limited company, have your case on it as directors or shareholders. It could be just a small amount of share at that stage. But what happens is that if, for example, you have 10 houses and you have them personally in your name and you pass away, then there will be some level of inheritance tax that may need to be paid. But if I form a trust fund and that trust fund have got my case on it, well, when I pass, what happens is that they inherit the trust, and they are not actually inheriting the tax, but they're actually taking over the tax. Sorry, the fund. Okay. So in that case, you're able to avoid some kind of level of inheritance tax. The next one is that if largely you think that, okay, I've got enough assets that I can turn it into a business, then the fact is that turn it into a business, the case are on it as directors or shareholders. And with a business, if the owner pass, the asset is transferred to the remaining directors automatically, you know, if that is part of his will. So there is supposed to be a need of will, a trust fund that needs to be established, and also asset converted into business, whereby the case comes on as a business owners, and therefore it goes into them as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. And thank you for your insightful delivery and the content that you've helped us with. Thank you, Patrick and Daniela, for also contributing to enriching the discussions that we've had today. Before I wrap up, I know a lot of hard work has gone into putting these seminars together. And when people show their appreciation, it's also good to transfer that to the organizers. So I'm going to read out a reaction from one Sam in Gambi. Sam says that just a big thank you to this vision by you guys, Ghanaians. I am a Zambian, and I sneaked into the webinar courtesy of a friend who passed it on to me. Keep it up. God bless you, and may God bless Ghana. I think that sums up how gratifying it is to be able to put these webinars together, in so long as it brings value to people who will tune in, people who will spend their time in listening to us. So thank you everyone for joining in. We have another webinar that's coming on the 15th of August, which will be on the topic prostate enlargement and prostate cancer. We have one of our very own who is a GP, Dr. Kensa, who will be taking us through the risk factors for developing prostate cancer and prostate enlargement, how to reduce our risk factors, and also how to manage prostate enlargement and or cancers if you have one. some of these content, when we put them together, might not apply to you now, but it is also intended for you to be able to pass it on to your loved ones who may find it helpful. So we hope that you'll be able to join us on the 15th of August when we come your way again with another insightful topic on prostate cancer and enlargement. We also want to ask that as a charity, we rely on the benevolence of people to be able to put some of these content and webinars together. And as a charity, we also accept donations from people, donation in kind and in forms of money. So if you are willing to contribute to our cause, we will ask you to go to our website, which is mmarimamma.co.uk, and then you can find the donation button and you can donate through the PayPal platform. Thank you for all your support. We would also ask you, these webinars are put together to be able to engage with the community that we have. We are developing the webinars as it goes on in terms of content, in terms of the time allocated, and in terms of the platform on which we deliver these. So we will value your evaluations and feedback, which will help us to shape the quality of subsequent webinars. So if you can go to the feedback form that has been created through SurveyMonkey and give us some feedback in terms of what we can improve and what we are doing better on. You can also suggest particular topics that we can focus on in the coming weeks. You can also scan in the QR code, which will take you straight to the platform. I have been told there are 2 hands up. I know I'm supposed to wrap up, but I will not leave those hands up. I don't know how they are going to feel about it. So I'm going to take Aram very, very quickly, Aram, if you can tell us what you wanted to contribute.
Thank you very much, Senior. So this is Aram, Mmarima Mma 99. I also got hint of it just late, and just about 30 minutes to wrapping up that I was here. I have enjoyed pretty much and wanted to know that if I request the speaker to grace our year group with a similar one, would he be willing to do it for us?
Okay, so Aram, I'll say that come to the Mmarima Mma, we own the propriety of our speaker. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm sure Richard will grace that opportunity, so no problem at all.
Richard, you must do this for 99, okay?
Okay, all right, that is fine. The key thing is that is something I also needed to put across as well. Anybody who is here and part of any society or church group or whatever it is, the key thing is that I and my panel, my lady and gentleman, will be able to grace that occasion as long as we're able to have a good coordination with them as well. So it's an open invitation to anybody, either as a group or individuals, to invite us, and we'll be able to schedule something.
Perfect.
And it would be great if you guys go and answer the Q&A session, the survey, and put those comments in there, and we'll be able to pick it up from there and coordinate from that point.
Okay. All right. I'll find my way and get to you guys.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
I'll give the last one to Henry. Henry, if you can be quick so that we can wrap up, please.
Right. Thank you very much. And right, quick one. Talking about tax incentives, you recently, the Ghana government organized, is it this welcome back? I've forgotten the name of it.
Year of return.
Year of return. And like with the someone did raise the question about the big foreigners go and they get tax breaks and stuff. What about the likes of us? Can these people on this platform with their know-how lobby the government to say, right, there are Ghanaians abroad who want to invest, but obviously can't compete with the big foreign companies. But what are they doing to help us? You know, to try and, we all want to go back and set up something, but you get where I'm going with this. Can they lobby the government on our behalf and do something about it?
Does anybody want to take it?
I'll give that to Patrick.
Quickly, okay? Patrick?
Okay, Harry. Well, getting a tax rebate from government is very difficult because that's where the government is making their revenue from, the taxes. However, it depends on the case that you make and how the business you are bringing is going to be beneficial to the society. If you are intending to make profit for yourself, then the government will be interested in taking the taxes from you. However, if a little bit of your business is supporting the community that you are in, then with the effort of the opinion leaders of that community, you'll be able to get a tax waiver from the government. All right, so it depends on the type of business you are going in and how the business is going to be beneficial to where you are situating it. Okay. Then how to get your opinion leaders from the community to admit to that benefit and to make a case to the commissioner for the rebate.
Okay. Thank you.
Something that has happened before, but a difficult task.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. And once again, thank you, Richard, Patrick, and Daniela, for your time, for sharing your knowledge with us and your experience as well. And thank you, everyone, for spending 2 hours with us. We look forward to you joining us in subsequent webinars. I know that I've not been able to take all the questions, but we have left an email that you can send subsequent questions to, and Richard and the team will be able to get back to you. On behalf of the leadership of UK Europe, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to having another session with you on the 15th of August. We ask that you give the feedback to us through the feedback form that we have shown. And if you have any questions, then you can ask them through the emails that are being displayed on the screen. Thank you and have a good evening. Enjoy yourself and keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you very much, guys.